Modesty. Modesty is your superpower to reach your ultimate greatness. Now, modesty is both for men and for women. However, today I'm going to share with you thoughts that Miriam Costin presents in her book, Circle, Arrow, Spiral, in order to really show us how modesty is really something so incredibly beautiful that's actually a gift, it's actually a blessing, especially for a woman in order to truly actualize herself and reach her potential. Now, when the world was created, and Adam and Chava were also created, what happened with Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve? First, they were created unclothed and they were fine. But after their sin, after they ate from the tree of knowledge, God had cursed them. And one of the curses was that they would have to be clothed. And now I want to reiterate that curse doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. Yes, it was a curse for the world when the world was at a different state. But now that the world is different, we cannot abide by the same rules as before. Obviously, being clothed is what's appropriate, is what's right. So I'm going to share with you three incredible ideas about modesty. Now, modesty is really meant for Orthodox Jewish women. I know that many other cultures and religions also embrace modesty for women, but especially for Orthodox women, Jewish women, it's not just meant to cover ourselves up because we're just supposed to be modest. We're not supposed to attract attention. We are meant to be beautiful, but not attract attention by the way we act, by the way we behave, by the way we talk. So modesty is actually has so many dimensions, and there's no such thing as anyone being perfect at it. It's always something to work on. It's always something to perfect. Modesty is more than just dress. Modesty focuses on depth of my internal self. What does that mean? It means that if I want to work on my inner self, if I want to work and if I want to actualize who I really am, I need to be modest. If I'm constantly showing off everything I have, everything I am to the whole world to see, then this is actually going to hinder, it's going to actually not let me actualize myself. It's actually going to be superficial and not let me work on my inner self. So to continue, I want to share with you the first one. The first idea is what you see is not what you get. What you see is not what you get. We live in a world where we often hear what you see is what you get. Flaunt it if you have it, show it off. Flaunt it if you have it. So modesty is embracing that what you see is not what you get, actually. Tniyut, which in Hebrew means modesty, is acknowledging that not everything is available to the sense of sight. Interestingly enough, out of all the senses, sight is the most distancing. For example, if I'm hearing you, that means there's a listener and there's a speaker, so it's interactive. If I'm touching, that means I'm touched, so it's interactive as well. Taste and smell are something external needs to come in order for me to smell it, in order for me to taste it. I can't just do it on my own. Sight is the only one-dimensional sense that's um, the most untruthful. Meaning, if I see something, it's not exactly what it is. A person who's doesn't look so well off is dressed really casually. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are not rich. It could mean the opposite. Maybe they're just very modest. So what I see is not what I get. It's actually um, sight is one dimensional and makes it least likely to reveal the truth. When we wear a covering, we are acknowledging that the physical world is a mask and that there is something underneath, something more valuable than meets the eye. So Tnut is our partner in living purely in a real world, not in a superficial level, not in a superficial world. So I'm going to share with you an example. Why is a flamingo and a leopard and an elephant, why don't they wear clothes? Why? Why is it so appropriate for them to be unclothed? Why do only humans wear clothes? Because the essence of a leopard is its beautiful skin, its flexible muscular body. That's what a leopard is known for. So every single animal, what you see is what you get. But we're not animals. We're above that. There's so many more dimensions to us as humans, and in one way we show that is through our modesty, is through wearing clothes. With dogs, there are no inner depths hiding there. Clothing is what allows us to maintain that there are many more layers than there are that reveal to the eye. Our inner self is so incredibly special and precious, and that's why we are advised and it's appropriate for us to dress with dignity. So we try very much to to dress in a respectful manner. We This shows us that we're precious. There's something precious inside. Obviously, it's our soul, it's our neshama. However, when I treat myself with respect, knowing that there's something more to me, I'm going to actually clothe myself with dignity. Okay, the second idea is hijacking the truth. Immodesty hijacks the truth. Snoot is our tool to maintain the power of truth in a world where exposure gives way to distortion. What does that mean? Exposure of what I have gives the world an opportunity to destroy what I have. And but so why do we put so much emphasis on covering? Maybe it would be appropriate to reveal all the colors, to remove them. Maybe we would be closer to the truth if everything was revealed. So we live in a world that happened after the sin. The world is different now, where we live in a world where darkness and light rule together. They're together. So what's darkness? Darkness is privacy. Darkness is prayer. Darkness is you time. Darkness is intimate. Light is fame. Light is attention. Light is a lot of glam. So that's lightness and darkness. Anything revealed, anything that I have that's private and that's revealed is actually in danger. Tzniut is privacy. Tzniut is precious. Do we expose our bank accounts, our estate worth, our expensive jewelry for all the world to know about? So when we do that, we're giving darkness, we're giving all this preciousness that we have become actually destroyed. So we don't want to do that. Our essence is so precious. Too much focus on my outer covering, too much focus on what I have and what I look like and what I show the world is actually going to take away headspace over me focusing on what truly matters. I can't possibly do everything. But if my head is constantly overtaken with thoughts of how to glam myself up, how do I look in society, how does my house look, and constantly on my outer covering, on my outer layer, then what happens is I don't have enough time or headspace to think about my inner self, my inner growth, my inner character, which is actually the purpose of life. So darkness hijacks the vehicle. Darkness overtakes what's important. What's important is your soul. So what happens? Love which is so incredibly beautiful. The more I give, Judaism teaches us the more I give is truly, in a truly unconditional way, is the more I love. Now, if I reveal my love to society, how much I love my spouse with pictures and maybe with being very, very open about it, either on social media or whichever way, what happens is I start thinking about, oh, what does everybody else think about my marriage? Oh yeah, maybe he is a good husband. Maybe she has a better husband. And I start thinking about, wow, the truth becomes actually distorted. Maybe the person who's showing all these pictures is really unhappy in her marriage, um, and it's not really real. Or maybe now that I see that, wow, my marriage looks great, I start thinking about what love really isn't. Like, how does he make me feel? Which is not really love. That's selfish love. So once I start revealing what's private into the public eye, it gives way to for it to become destroyed, for it not to be precious, for it not to be private, for it not to flourish. So I want to keep what's private private. Tzniut is a protection and a border. It's a separation between the holy and the profane. It's a separation between the material and the spiritual. And it keeps the holy safe. You know, it's very, very interesting. The first tablets that were given to us, the Jewish people, were given in front of so many people, men, women, and children, a large amount of people. They were given in public. However, they were destroyed. They were destroyed. The Jews created a golden calf because Moses did not come down from heaven on time, or they miscalculated. So they created a golden calf, and because Moshe Rabbeinu was very upset, the tablets were destroyed. And after the tablets were destroyed, Moshe begged forgiveness from Hashem our God, and Moshe went back up to heaven for another 40 days with a new set of tablets, and those tablets were given to us in the most private way. It was a private meeting with Hashem, God, and Moshe Rabbeinu. So whatever is actually private, is intimate, is actually precious and holy. Even the Torah, when we go to synagogue, our Torah is actually covered with so many beautiful coverings, and it's special time that it's opened, and special time that it's revealed. And even though it's so precious, um, and it's so beautiful, it's not the reason. It's not a reason why we should open it up and show it to everyone. It's because it's precious and it has many colorings. You know, it's interesting. When one's motivation is very pure, it's actually private. When you in Judaism, whatever kindness you're doing, if it's done in the most private way, it's really meant to be done. It's really done for the sake of heaven, and very righteous people do this. Um, Righteous people do this, and because they just want to do it for the sake of heaven. They're not doing it to put a name on it. They're not doing it to be recognized in any way. So the most private thing, the most private type of kindness is done, and this is meant the most. It's a mitzvah done purely for the sake of heaven. Doing a mitzvah, this act of kindness, without anyone ever knowing about it, shows that the mitzvah itself has no external aspect. So the third idea is how does spirituality grow? Internal is by definition beneath the surface. There's something under it, there's something on top of it, there's a covering. It must be covered by an exterior. When you expose something, you allow for diffusion. For example, when you have a perfume bottle and you open it and you leave it on the table, what happens? It diffuses. The aroma fills the room, and yeah, it's not just a little dab on you. It just smells so good. It's everywhere now. You don't even notice it. It's just everywhere. It's not so precious because it's everywhere. Smell it everywhere. You see it. You see it on diffusing. And you know, it's a way for us to see that something that's so precious, if I open it up for everyone to see, for the public, it loses its preciousness. Internality focuses on being private, and it only flourishes when it's private, when there's private time, when I'm praying, um, in the quiet time, in the darkness, when I'm by myself. That's internality. My own idea is, you know, how does change start? Change starts in the most private way. When you make a determination to change with your thoughts. Can anybody see your thoughts? No, it's very, very internal. It's very private. And that's actually the most growth. That's actually where change begins, with your determination, with the thoughts that you create. Our inner essence needs to be covered in order to have inner space to develop. You know, but what if this is not allowed in the society that we live in? If the covering is stripped away and one isn't able to take the time, inner space, and privacy to rebuild? What happens when one lives in a society that thinks privacy is about being hung up? A society which believes that everything is appropriate for discussion in a public forum. Everything is appropriate. Now, this isn't to say, and I'm not here to say, that if you have a private matter, don't consult with anyone. Consult with someone who's reliable. If you're going through problems in life, why are we putting it out for the world to see? Talk to a life coach, talk to a therapist, someone, a rabbi, a rebbitzin, someone who can help you, someone who you rely on, but not for the world to see. If you have brilliant children, tell you, tell their grandparents. If you have an amazing husband, call your mother. Call your mother. See, what an amazing husband I have. What an amazing son-in-law you have. You know, we have to be wise and willing to evaluate, is this worth sharing? And this is my practical tip to you. Before revealing something that's private into the public eye, whether it's in the family or in the wider circle, let's take the time. Let's take the time to evaluate and to introspect and say, you know, is this worth sharing? Is this meant to be shared with everybody else? And this is challenging. It's hard. It's hard for me too, but it's worth it, because if I want to be my greatest self, I need to harness my internal self. I need to harness um, my inner self, the depths, and to develop them. I can only do that if I keep the private, and the public is actually the enemy of depth. So I don't want to use publicity into my life more than I have to. I hope this was really helpful. I know it's a very sensitive topic, and I know that it's not one dimensional. You know, there's so many dimensions to modesty, and I hope that we can all take the chance to grow. Take the chance that one small step, maybe I can do this in a more modest way, in a way that doesn't show it off to the world, and to may Hashem, our God, give us that type of wisdom. May we merit to harness our inner essence as we develop to become greater than we ever thought possible. I hope this was helpful, and have a beautiful day. Leah Abramov, Being and Becoming.